Welcome back to Reds Fusion LFC, your home for every pulse-raising twist in the Liverpool story. Today's headlines are packed with drama. A major transfer hits a £35 million roadblock. Alexander Isak finds himself stuck in a Liverpool time warp. Graham Potter's latest decision raises eyebrows. Dominik Szoboszlai smashes a new record, and a surprise ex-Arsenal option enters the transfer conversation. Strap in, Reds, there's a lot to break down, and it could shape Liverpool's next big move. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated with every twist and turn in the transfer window.
Liverpool transfer agreement fails to be reached as £35 million problem emerges. The ECHO's Liverpool writers assess Harvey Elliott's current predicament and analyze the merits of a potential return to Anfield over 2 months into his new career at Aston Villa, and things are yet to go to plan for Harvey Elliott. Liverpool negotiated a loan deal on transfer deadline day for the England under, with a view to making the arrangement permanent at the end of the campaign for £35 million, having struggled to break into the Reds team under Arne Slot as they won the Premier League last season. Elliott was keen to kick on and gain first-team exposure elsewhere, and the decision to embark on a huge spending summer at Anfield further blocked the midfielder's path. But the move to Villa Park has yet to bear fruit. The 22-year-old has made just 4 Premier League appearances so far, 3 of them as a substitute, with his last outing coming in the Europa League win at Feyenoord on October 2nd, and there is talk in Villa circles that the attacking midfielder was signed by now former sporting director Mansi rather than head coach Unai Emery. He is training well, and he played some matches, but the performances weren't what we needed, Emery said when asked why Elliott wasn't in the squad for the 1-0 win over Manchester City earlier this month. Some players are playing as a no-10, and they are playing well, like Emi Buendia and Morgan Rogers. Also, Ross Barkley. After he was out in the squad, we needed to take one player out, and I decided for it to be him. I am happy with him. He is training good. His commitment is fantastic, and he is a good guy. It is only a tactical decision. Here, our Echo writers assess if there might be a way back for Elliott, should he fail to hit the reported 10-game milestone that would make the move to Villa a permanent one. Paul Gorst. Liverpool have no plans to cancel Harvey Elliott's loan and his hurried move on. Transfer deadline day was effectively, in the eyes of the club's key decision-makers at least, the end of his time as a Reds player. But with the 22-year-old struggling to make the grade at Aston Villa, there's a real chance that he doesn't reach the reported 10 appearances needed to make the transfer permanent. And with Elliott struggling to show Unai Emery what he is capable of, that could represent a problem. For Liverpool though, their own issues are unlikely to be solved by an Elliott return, either mid-season or at the end of the loan spell. Arne Slot's team have become susceptible to the shift in strategy at the sharp end of the Premier League, where teams are increasingly reliant on a more direct and physical style. If that is to remain the Reds' Achilles heel, then the diminutive and fleet-footed Elliott won't be much help on that score. That, for his all-obvious gifts, is not his game. Emery insists the ongoing omissions are simply tactical, and it is fair to suggest Villa have a plethora of advanced midfielders to choose from, including England star Morgan Rogers. Emi Buendia has rekindled his career in Birmingham, and Ross Barkley is also back in the reckoning. It's difficult to see where Elliott fits in there. The same though is true at Anfield, where Slot is attempting to move beyond a desperate run of 7 defeats in 10 right now. Florian Wirtz, at £116 million, is the future of the No.10 role at Liverpool, and Elliott's days at Anfield are all but officially over. Stephen Killen. This was Harvey Elliott's opportunity to really assert himself as a Premier League regular and stake his claim for a late surge into the England squad for the forthcoming World Cup, but it hasn't gone too smoothly, with reports suggesting that he has been frozen out, leaving both Aston Villa and Liverpool with a decision to make. It has been suggested that if he doesn't play 10 games, the clause to make his move permanent will not be triggered, and he would return to Arne Slot's side. Should it come to that point, he will be forced to either fight for a place in an already competitive starting sheet or be sold. However, from a selling standpoint, the Reds will be significantly weakened in what they can demand from clubs. But if this season has been anything to go by, the right-wing position is one that Liverpool are struggling with due to a downturn in Mohamed Salah's output. It will be the test during the Africa Cup of Nations, whether they can replace the Egyptian. Without his glut of goals, Liverpool's form has suffered this season. Elliott made his name as the England under-21s hero in back-to-back European Championship triumphs, and he played his best football on the right wing, claiming the player of the tournament last summer. A bona fide bargain right wing option and an understudy to Salah is already beneath the noses of Liverpool's recruitment chiefs, especially in an extortionate transfer market. Slot already knows what he can do from the right. He only has to cast his mind to that Champions League first leg against Paris Saint-Germain. Alexander Isak, stuck in Liverpool, time warp and Graham Potter decision may speak volumes. Alexander Isak might be forgiven for feeling his Liverpool career following his £125 million British transfer record move is stuck on Groundhog Day so far. Paul Gorst writes it's fair to say new Sweden boss Graham Potter did not want to get into the weeds of Alexander Isak's fitness issues when prompted on Wednesday. The former West Ham United, Chelsea and Brighton manager is set to take charge of his first match on Saturday when the struggling Swedes are hosted by Switzerland at the Stade de Genève. And ahead of that World Cup qualifier, Potter was asked about the status of Liverpool's £125 million man. Alexander is here, Potter confirmed. I've spoken briefly with him, he's feeling well, has no issues. It was far from a booming statement with regards to his star player, but right now, Isak could do without the noise and the bluster. Nearly 2.5 months into his time on Merseyside, and the former Newcastle United star finds himself at the same juncture he arrived at the start of September. Isak has played just 250 Premier League minutes of the 720 played by Liverpool since he signed at the start of September, excluding stoppage time, and his last run out for his new club came in a 45-minute cameo against Eintracht Frankfurt on October 22nd, when he picked up a groin injury. As a result, the 26-year-old has largely watched on in recent weeks, helpless to stop a run that now stands at 7 defeats in the last 10 games in all competitions. Dating back to late September when the Premier League champions were beaten at Crystal Palace, had Liverpool been in Sunday's game with Manchester City, there was the option for Arne Slot to call upon the most expensive player in British football history off the bench. After returning to training last week, Isak was in the matchday squad at the Etihad, but as the contest slipped away from the Reds and City ran riot, it felt like a risk that wasn't worth taking, particularly after the outstanding Jeremy Doku had fired home the third on the day just after the hour mark. Slot declared after the October international break that Isak was now ready to be held to a higher standard after being allowed a grace period to get up to speed following a pre-season program that was decimated by how his acrimonious move to Liverpool played out across July and August. However, since the Reds returned to action in the forward has made just one Premier League appearance, which was the 2-1 loss to Manchester United at Anfield nearly a month ago. Try as he might, the attempts to build up some steam and momentum have so far fallen flat. Slot, in fact, was forced to row back on that assessment when speaking before the defeat to Man City, saying, "I know that I said 3 weeks ago that his preseason has ended, so now it's time for us to see where he is. But I have to come back to those words. Because if you are 3 weeks only with the rehab, that doesn't bring you back to the levels he was 3 weeks ago. Although, our rehab team is doing an incredible job, but you cannot compare rehab with games of football or training sessions with the team. As much as we try to replicate it, that's simply not possible. So, again, I have to say, give him some time. It's why once more Isak arrives on the international scene at Sweden with Liverpool, crossing their fingers and hoping their club record signing is handled with care. The Reds were in regular contact with the backroom team of former boss John Dahl Tomasson during the September and October breaks, most notably with Ben Rosen, their performance manager. Rosen remains in situ as part of Potter's backroom staff, so it's unlikely the lines of communication have now closed where Isak and Liverpool are concerned. But at a time when Sweden are in need of positive results, with their World Cup qualification in the balance, the temptation to use their main man over the next week or so must be great for a new manager looking to start on the right foot. Potter's plans will become clearer later in the week when he previews Saturday's game in Geneva, but the Reds will be keen to ensure he is delicately handled. If Isak features in both games against Switzerland and Slovenia, he will have made more World Cup qualifier appearances than Premier League by the time he returns to Merseyside at the back end of next week for the visit of Nottingham Forest. It's a small snapshot into how things have been in the early going. Even if Slot will rightly counter, he has been signed for 6 years and not 6 weeks. Isak's Liverpool career might feel like Groundhog Day in its early weeks, in need of minutes, away on international duty, and the attention over the state of his fitness growing. Dominik Szoboszlai sets new record as Milos Kerkez gets much-needed boost. Dominik Szoboszlai and Milos Kerkez were Liverpool's first 2 players to be involved in international action during the break. As Hungary won 1-0 away to Armenia, Szoboszlai and Milos Kerkez put Liverpool's struggles to one side as Hungary boosted its World Cup qualification hopes with a narrow win in Armenia. Hungary won 1-2 in Europe, with Szoboszlai producing the assist for the winning goal, scored by Barnabas Varga. Liverpool's midfield maestro collected the ball from Kerkez on the left wing and curled in a brilliant cross, from which Varga found the net with a header. Kerkez will no doubt have been pleased at keeping a clean sheet, having not managed too many with Liverpool during the early period in the season. Hungarian news outlet Blick described Szoboszlai as one of the 2 most informed players in its report from the game. The 25-year-old midfielder, who has been outstanding for club and country in recent months, became the youngest player in Hungarian soccer history to reach 60 caps for his country with his appearance against Armenia. As for Kerkez, it was a much-needed dependable performance from the former Bournemouth player, as he started his first game since October 29. The summer signing was benched for Liverpool's games against Aston Villa, Real Madrid and Manchester City prior to the international break. As Arne Slot opted to restore Andy Robertson to the team, Liverpool has looked a steadier side with Robertson in it, and while it is still early days in Kerkez's Liverpool career, he may have to bide his time for another opportunity back in the Reds' starting lineup. Appearing on The Good, the Bad, and the Football podcast, former Liverpool striker Robbie Fowler gave his verdict on Kerkez's struggles at left-back since the start of the season. The Hungary international was widely regarded as the best left-back in the Premier League last term, but has struggled to rediscover the form he showed at Bournemouth since moving to Anfield. Kerkez was substituted on the hour mark or earlier in 4 of Liverpool's first 9 league games, and Fowler suggested that the 22-year-old is struggling to adapt to the pressure of playing for one of the biggest clubs in the world. Fowler said, "Kerkez was everyone's favorite left-back last year, and he's come in. So when you're playing for Liverpool, when you're playing for Man United, it's different than playing for Bournemouth. It's because there's pressure."
Liverpool handed transfer warning as surprise ex-Arsenal alternative offered. Liverpool want a new central defender after failing to land Mark Guéhi in the summer transfer window, and have been handed a key warning by one of their former players. Liverpool are at risk of missing out on a deal for Mark Guéhi, and have been warned that missing out on Champions League football could seal their fate. After 11 games, the Reds sit in 8th place in the Premier League and have lost 4 of their last 5 Premier League matches. Arne Slot's side agreed a deal for Guéhi to come to Anfield before Crystal Palace pulled the plug on the deal in the final hours. The Eagles star is set to leave Selhurst Park next summer when his contract expires, and he will be available on a free transfer. In January, the England international will be permitted to speak with European clubs and sign a pre-agreement after entering the final 6 months of his contract. The likes of Real Madrid and Bayern Munich have already been linked to attempts to sign the former Chelsea trainee. That has put Liverpool on the back foot, but Jason McAteer has warned his former club to pick up their form if they want to keep their hopes alive. Being a free agent brings everyone into the conversation. It brings Bayern Munich in, it brings Real Madrid, Barcelona and other clubs in as well, McAteer told Isak. If Liverpool drop off, there is no guarantee that they will qualify for the Champions League, and that could be one thing which Guéhi wants when moving as a free agent. It could also be a change of culture or something else. He might end up at Real Madrid, and Guéhi is a real talent who would go directly into the first team. It really is a concern that Liverpool missed out on him. McAteer has suggested that Liverpool could turn their attention to another player if they do miss out. The ex-Sunderland midfielder reckons Anfield Chiefs should look in the direction of the Stadium of Light. The 54-year-old H.